Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business Spotlight interview series out here in Atlanta, Canada. I'm joined today by Layla Crouse, the owner of Salty Swabbers. They focus on in the cleaning industry on commercial, residential, and short-term property management. Layla, thank you so much for joining us today. Would you like to kick things off with a little bit about who you are and what got you started on your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, hi Barrett, and good morning. My entrepreneurial journey. So probably like many women, my journey started as a stay-at-home mom. I mean, if you don't want to go back to when I was a teenager, if you want to go back to teenagehood, cleaning is something that us and our family we've always done as sort of like a stress reliever. My mother was very clean. She worked a full-time job. She worked a night shift. So when she came home at 8 o'clock at night, we had the house spotless as teenagers. So we were always brought up to a level of, it was just that's how we were. That's how we lived in our existence. So as I got older, I went to college. I was always doing cleaning on the side. It was an easy job to get into. Everybody always needs something clean. People don't want to do certain parts of their house or they can't. So I always stepped in and that sort of stayed with me. I went to college to become a paralegal. I moved out to Calgary and was working in law firms, but all the meanwhile, my side hobby was cleaning people's houses. So it's always just been something that I've done. You can only clean your own house so much. So when we moved back here to Nova Scotia, me and my husband, we got married, we started a family, and I stayed home for the first 5 years of her life, my daughter's life. And I got bored. She started going to school. I needed something to do, and cleaning was just something that came naturally. So again, started small, started on the side, and all of a sudden my name started getting passed around, and I just blew up. My phone was ringing off the hook a couple years ago, and it was an Airbnb here, and somebody else wanted me to do another Airbnb. A realtor needed somebody to clean their move-out property, and it built. And at one point, I was like, I have no more time. This is a full-time job already. I started passing off clients to other girls, other women around that I knew, and then realized that that was just foolish. So I said to myself, why not start a business? So I started subcontracting out to other girls and other women, other cleaners locally, and it grew from there. And at this point, I'm just racing to keep up with the demand. So the faster that I could hire girls, as fast as I could hire girls, we were just getting clients left, right, and center. So it's the demand is still growing. We are still growing, and I think we are 3 years into things officially as a business, and we've quadrupled in size from last year. And we're still like this year is just we're so on point for such a great busy year that we're expanding again. So it's just been it's been quite the journey. It's been quite the learning experience for me as someone who has never managed a team, let alone owned a business. Stepping into that owner, employer, manager role, um, it has been interesting for me to go from everybody's friend to, well, now I need to call the shots and, be the person who has to make the hard decisions or the person who needs to be not the friend and more of the boss of certain things. So, you know, it's been enjoyable, honestly. It has been creating this business has become a hobby on top of a job. So it's when I have downtime, my hobby is creating new parts of the job and creating new systems and figuring out problems. So it's even when I'm not working, I'm working. And when I wake up, I'm working. And when I'm going to bed, I'm working. And when I get 10 minutes by myself, I'm working. So it's like everything, I take my time off too and spend time with my family. But my hobby has become this business, which I can't seem to stop.
It can become addictive and it can become a drug. And that's what a lot of us go down that rabbit hole of as entrepreneurs is we get so passionate about it that we're just driving it. Just for context, can you share with the audience if you were to drive from like one end of your service area to the other, what that distance is in
All
like
right.
hours?
In hours. And that's how we like to describe it down here because people will ask me distance and I say, nah, it's you have to describe it in hours. So I live in Lockport, Nova Scotia, which is way down on the South Shore. We're in Shelburne County. So I used to say we only service Shelburne County, which if you drive from one end, we're almost in Yarmouth on that end. So it's about an hour and a half, one end of the county to the other. We've recently started expanding again because the demand is coming in from Queens County, Yarmouth County. We've had people call from Annapolis and a lot further up your way, but we obviously couldn't take on those clients. But we're depending on which staff is available. We like to drive somewhere. We'll go to Yarmouth and then probably up to Liverpool, Bridgewater. So we're looking at a 2 hour distance in between.
Nice. So
Yeah.
that's a bit of a logistical entity in itself. So through your team, how do you go about building a team to fill in that type of a geographic area?
So the biggest struggle with living in a rural area is the distance and the availability of people to fill positions, to hire employees. What I've discovered is that there is a fantastic untapped market of mothers, grandmothers, caregivers, women who have been pigeonholed because they can't take on traditional jobs because they we don't have a lot of childcare down here. Like everybody is struggling. If you get childcare, it's like getting a doctor. It's you're on a list, you're waiting, you get a job, all of a sudden you can't accept the job because you've got no one to watch your kids after school, or your mother can only do it so many times a week because she has a job, or the next door neighbor. So it's always this, it's the mothers have caregivers, I should say, not just mothers, because we have grandmothers on the team too. Um, it's a logistical nightmare for them to find a position that they can schedule their job around their life as opposed to scheduling their life around their job. And that's sort of my goal is to provide a job that works with everybody's schedule. So I could have gone and said, I need someone who works 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, 7 days a week. No, that's me. 5 days a week. And I would never find anybody who would be able to fill the need that I have with the distance that I have to work with in the time limits that I have. So what I've gone and I've done is we have a schedule set up. I've hired, I think we're up to 11 women now, with a goal to hire two more coming down the road before tourist season. And the way we work is I say to my staff, I say, all right, set your schedules up for the next month. A couple of weeks is like usually all I need. And we have a calendar that they set their availability. So their calendars will say, whether it's someone who has availability all day long, 7 days a week, or it's someone who's only available from 9 until 1 o'clock, 3 days a week. Some people only want to work one or two shifts just to get that little extra pocket change. So they set their schedule. And then as I get calls coming in, as we get clients coming in, we have a lot of regulars too, but we have them. And I set the clients up in the staff members' schedules so that it falls within their available times. So we have some clients who are regulars. They get their weekly cleaning done, their biweekly, monthly, however that goes on. We also have quite a few Airbnbs that have regular turnovers. Um, so I make sure that we have enough staff members available for a certain number of hours every day, and we just fill the availability as it comes in, as the request comes in. So as opposed to saying like you need to be here and you need to work for this hour, and I don't care if your kid is sick, I don't care if you have a doctor's appointment, as long as it's on the calendar. And it's if one of my girls says, well, I've got to go to the IWK next week, I say, mark your day off. I won't give you any shifts. Somebody else will get the shift. They get to go. There's no stress. There's no, you're going to lose your job. It's easy.
Absolutely. So that puts a lot more pressure on you and yourself. What are
Mhm.
you kind of doing to try to organize and keep that flowing? Are you using some level of technology to help you out, or is it all
Yeah.
just sticky notes on a piece of board on your wall?
I wish I had sticky notes on a board. I keep saying to the staff that I need to get a legitimate office because right now I sit on my couch with my laptop and I just have a stack of papers that's on my footstool. I've turned into my father, but it's what I have is we use it's a I don't want to say outdated technology, but the scheduling software for the staff is called When I Work Scheduling. So it's just a calendar that shows up. They click, what time they're available. If they want to set it to repeat, if it's a normal system or a normal schedule for their weekly or monthly, whatever, they can set that up, or they can do each day personally. And then we just set up the job sites and in that software. And then when we put the job sites on their schedule, they get a list of what time they need to show up, what the address is, what the expectation is. So we usually use a Google form. It's a generic template that we've created that gives them like a checklist for every single room. So we have like our regular cleanings, which covers a certain area and a certain number of tasks in each room. We have deep cleaning criteria. We have, specifics if somebody calls up and says, I just need every window in my house washed on the inside, and can you please just wash all the doors? Or can you do a carpet cleaning? Or like all these,
Right.
if there's something specific, we can put those in the notes. But yeah, so we use Google Forms, and then it's a digital checklist. They fill out the form. That way, um, we also have a record of every visit that we've made. So if there's a question or an issue later on down the road, we can go back and we can say, well, this is what was done. We know that we performed this task on this date, and it's good for me too because where we have grown so much and there is so many new staff, well, not new. There's more than me, more than just me going to the people's houses. It's hard to stay on top of everybody doing everything, and I need to be able to I don't want to micromanage, but be able to see at any given time, what did we do here? And that keeps me involved and it keeps me aware of what services we're providing. And if something got missed or skipped, let's just say somebody said, well, I had a big delivery from Amazon the other day and I just shoved everything in my bedroom and closed the door. You don't need to do it this week. And then I have a record that says, we skipped the bedroom this week because of this. So there's a lot of record keeping. It is a lot on my shoulders, but it makes more sense to me for me to do this in this way because if I had, like I said, tried to do it a traditional way of, everybody works from 9 to 5, 5 days a week. Again, I tried to say 7 because that's me. Um, I wouldn't find anybody that would be able to do what I need them to do and it wouldn't burn them out. So it's a very physical job and it's a laborious job and it takes a lot of some out of somebody. And if we can work for 3 hours or 6 hours a day in two chunks or in, one go, it's a full day already. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Especially with the commute in between. So you've got some practices in place to ensure quality control
Hmm.
because you to go and follow up on someone in a 2 hour by 2 hour grid is impossible. So that makes total sense. So when you go to market for new staff, is it kind of marketing that you're looking for that flexibility?
Flexibility is the first key because this job is not only, there is no set schedule, there is no guaranteed hours, there is nothing that I can say, hey, when you come in, I can guarantee that you're going to work from 9 to 5, 5 days a week. I can't guarantee hours, I can't guarantee location. All I can say is, this is how we are operating. We have a feast. I would love to say we have a feast or famine season. It used to be that the summer season was very busy and the winter season was very slow. That isn't the case anymore. Every time every year comes around, I say, oh, it's fall and things will slow down, and they never do. And they just pick up even more in the winter because I'm always trying to fill in that slow time. So the staff
Right.
members still have hours, but then that translates into the summertime and that's still going. And then we get the Airbnbs and then we get, people who are going out on vacation or, everybody gets that spring cleaning boost and they want right now we're run off our feet because it's get ready for summer. The air is warming up and people are saying, let's clean. So it's just nonstop. It's busy, busy. And when I'm looking for staff members, the first thing I say is can't guarantee, but this is what we're pulling right now. It's I don't want to say predictable, but we're getting to the point where it's easy to predict how busy we're going to be and how often I can have somebody in. We recently hired somebody who is her child is grown, so she doesn't have an at-home child, and she said, hey, I've been home for a month or so. You're like, I'm bored. Give me all the jobs. I had to start watching because I was like, oh no, we're hitting overtime hours. Like, we're okay, never
Right.
mind. Hold on, we got to scale that one back because she just kept, she's like, I'm bored, give me anything, I'll go anywhere. Let's do it. She was gung ho, and I had to sort of pull it back a little bit. And I said, actually, I need to start scheduling you days off because if I wasn't
Right.
marking them off, she was just ready to go 7 days a week. And I said, I'll do that, but I can't make you guys. I'll
Right.
burn her out way too fast. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so it's hiring is hiring has been amazing and difficult and quite the experience for myself. Again, when I first started, I was good at being everybody's friend, and I was used to just being a team player. And first, I was hiring on vibes at first. Like, hey, do we work out well? Do we? It's great conversation. This is fantastic. Like you say, you can clean. Great, let's go clean. I mean, the first two or three women that I hired, I don't even think I met them in person right away. I hired them online and started. I say online, it's Shelburne, it's Barrington, so I knew of them and I knew who they were
Right.
specifically, but I wasn't, you know, chasing them down. People were saying like, "Oh, I've worked for a cleaning company for years. I worked for VON, which is it's like a nursing and in-home care provider. So they do cleaning." So I was like, "Hey, that's fantastic. You already know what you're doing. Go do it here." Turns out not everybody has the same standards as me. So that's years ago, and then we had to start implementing quality control systems, and that's when I really did learn that as much as I would love to say that everybody knows how to clean, everybody knows how to clean to the standard that they were taught or that they believe is their own standard, and sometimes that isn't the service that we're providing. So there's again a learning curve for me, and training was never something that I had ever thought of doing. So now we have onboarding systems. We have video learning systems. We have courses that we take, certifications that I have to make sure everybody has before we even start. Like we are certified now with Tourism Nova Scotia with the Clean
Yeah.
It Right program, which is a hospitable hospitality course that teaches all of us the standard for short-term rentals. So when people come to Nova Scotia and they stay in an Airbnb or a short-term rental, when we go in and clean afterwards, we have standards that Nova Scotia Tourism has set for us, so that we know
Nice.
that we're providing a great clean and a great service, so that people who aren't from Nova Scotia will want to come back. And that is like repeat customers are the biggest. That's the cream of the crop right there. So it's learning how to clean, but it's also learning how to clean properly and safely. And how many people have come up to me and said, "Hey, I saw this great TikTok where you mix bleach and ammonia and you put it in your toilet." And I'm just screaming on the inside and sometimes screaming on the outside, like, please don't do that. Please don't mix chemicals. That's the scariest thing. We're going to have Agent Orange and we're going to kill everybody in the house. Let's not do that. Or I've had, the TikTok hacks. It's my biggest pet peeve. Well, if you use toilet bowl cleaner on somebody's hardwood floor, it's going to shine it. It's going to rip the strip. It's going to strip it. So it's going to ruin somebody's floor. So it's learning how to use products, learning how to use them properly, learning how to um, properly identify surfaces, and what is the floor made out of? Do you have a quartz countertop? Do you have a marble countertop? Is it sealed? Do we need to have something specific? What's the pH balance of the cleaning product that we're using? Is it going to ruin your product? So it is it's definitely a lot to learn if you haven't been doing it for a while or if it's new to you. But people who enjoy it pick it up fast. And some people, it's I get all we talk about in our work group chat. The girls will send links. They're like, "Hey, so I bought this new product, and this is what we're trying it on." And they're sending me the little before and after videos. And of course, then I have to say, like, send me the safety data sheet on that so we have it on file because
We need to
procedures
know.
and policy. Yeah, we have to keep everything safe, and update my files to make sure that I have everything covered on my end. But it's yeah, training is it's as long as somebody's down for it, they'll pick it up fast, and it's enjoyable, and the reward is huge at the end of it. It's there's nothing like what we do. It's people go, "Oh, well, you're just a maid, you just go in and you just scrub toilets." And yeah, sure. I scrub toilets, but also I go into houses with a woman who is pregnant and she's just about to give birth, and she says, you know what, I want to be able to come home and just enjoy my baby. Like I don't want to have to come home and be stressed out and have to clean because all the in-laws are going to come over, the family's going to come over. And I say, we got you covered. They leave, they go, they give birth to the baby, they come home, and the house is sparkling. And I get text messages a couple weeks later, like, thank you so much. Like, I didn't have to worry. It felt amazing to be able to come home and just relax. And it's, stories like that. Or we had a client once, bless her heart. She messaged me, and her husband was in hospice care, and she was his full-time caregiver. And she was overwhelmed and she was tired, she was exhausted. And she said, I need help. I can't keep up with this. I need help organizing this room here. I need help cleaning this room here. And the level that we had to raise our standards for her was astronomical, because we weren't allowed to bring in any of our own products just in case the chemicals, you
Right.
know. We weren't allowed to bring in any of our own vacuums, because if the filters weren't HEPA filters, if it blew in any allergens or dust, it could set him into an allergic reaction, and his immune system was very, very low. So we had to be very, very specific. She provided a lot of items and whatnot, but we went in and we were helping in that stage of her life. And then eventually he did pass. So while she was in grieving, we were there. We were helping keep her house up to a livable standard when she wasn't able to do that. She was,
Right.
in her grief, and she was in her own space and doing her own thing. But we would come in and we'd make sure like the dishes were done and her shower was clean, and we'd make sure her laundry was done, and we would really make sure that her space was something that she could just exist in without having to go, it's this, the sink is full of dishes, or I haven't, we don't normally do cat litter, but we were doing cat litter. Like we wanted to really make sure that she was taken care of. And recently she got a hold of me and said, hey, like I'm getting ready to sell the house, I'm ready to move on. Can you guys come do you mind like helping me clean up after I pack up? And this woman she's a senior, so we helped her move some of her stuff into the boxes. We helped ship off some of her donations. Like we took them to one of our charity places here locally. And her house is on the market. So we did a deep clean before it went up, before she took the photos. And so every stage we've just been there, just in the background, creating support. And, a couple of the staff members would say, well, she was having a hard day, and, she broke down, she cried, I cried, we hugged. Like, it's not just scrubbing toilets. We're not just maids. Like, we're in people's lives, really being there for them when it's needed, because not everybody is able to hire a cleaning company. Like everybody looks at it as a luxury, but sometimes it's really needed, and some people need it in their life. We have clients who have mobility issues. They can't reach up, they can't reach down, they can't, do essential tasks that everybody else is normally able to do.
Right.
So we step in, and I say we are hired to do the things that they might not be able to do. And so right there, we're providing a service that if we weren't doing it, it wouldn't get done in their home, and their standard of living is tanking. So there's many different reasons that we get called in. Some people are just like, hey, I don't want to clean my house. Cool, me neither. Let's go do it. We'll come in. It doesn't really matter the reason, but we're there for anybody in any stage. So it's yeah, it's very rewarding. And I always love to share the praise or the feedback that the clients give us with the staff. And I always send it to the group chat. If we get a shout out or something, I'll say like, hey, like congratulations to so and so. The client said this, and I'll copy and paste, and everybody's just like, we're so happy, we're so thankful. That was such a great clean. Like we really felt good about that. And that's really the reason that it's like that's the reason that we're in this. It just, there's always a need, and there's always somebody that needs help. And this job really scratches an itch on so many levels for all of us, that it's just, we're there for the quick fix of like, hey, like the before and after is fantastic, and it feels really good to finish a project every single day. But also long term, we know that we're making a difference in people's lives.
Absolutely. So when you think about filling those time slots and finding clients and houses to clean and commercial properties to clean and Airbnbs, how do you go about marketing for that?
If you would have asked me that 6 months ago, it would have been word of mouth. So being in a very small town, like, well, I live in Lockport, and there's not many there's not as many clients down here. I think in the town of Lockport, there's I think 400 people in the area. There's probably 1,500, but Shelburne County, it's a it's a different place down here. Before it would just be I would post stuff on the local exchange, local Facebook groups, and word of mouth, like, oh, hey, you clean for my mom. Can you come clean for me? And that was really how we were, chugging along. It was just people would come find us and I would put out, it's me. So I'm just every once in a while, I'm like, oh, right, I need to do something. Oh, it's Mother's Day, right? Send out a thing. Like, hey guys, don't forget your moms, don't forget your wives. Like, we'll do the cleaning. You guys go have fun. But it got to a point where I was doing so many things and wearing so many hats that I don't want to say parts of the business were getting neglected, but advertising wasn't getting done. Social media or, posting anything there was not happening. And when it did, it was so disjointed and had no vision or anything. Um, so I was starting to lag. I was getting behind in what I was supposed to be doing. And all the meanwhile, like if there's a girl who calls in sick for cleaning, I'm jumping in and I'm going to do the clean. So it's,
Right.
even if I said, hey, I'm going to sit down today and I'm going to dedicate myself, make sure all the invoices go out. I'm going to make sure that I, schedule and pump off like 6 reels or, I'm going to draft up marketing for this month. It all goes to the wayside. So last November, I hired my first virtual assistant, which was probably the most groundbreaking and the biggest turning point for the business was hiring somebody who knew what they were doing and could do what I was doing, but better. And I am humble when I say this. I'm reinventing the wheel when I'm doing everything. I'm not trained in marketing. I'm not trained in accounting. I'm not trained in social media, um, anything. I'm not trained in business management. Working on that though. But all these different areas that I was doing on my own, which is great for a small town. It works. People are just happy that we exist. But to expand or to reach new clients or bigger clients or commercial clients, all these different people that were in a market that we weren't tapping, I needed to hire more people to do what I was
Right.
doing. And I started with two and expanded to four before Christmas. And I'm up to 8 virtual staff right now. So I have an accountant, I have a social media manager, I call him my online presence manager, but everything from the back end of the website because we do bookings online and advertising. He covers everything for the online business. I have 3 administrative assistants, and it's just we're just we're probably going to get more because I have now admin assistants who are available 7 days a week. So I split that job up. Who it was just me before, answering the phones, answering texts, responding to Facebook posts and Facebook messages from clients. Or emails. It was all across the board, but it was all me. And what was happening was I was constantly pulled out of whatever I was trying to do. If I was, trying to work on invoicing or something, and it was a constant like not a distraction, but I couldn't get into a flow and
Right.
whatnot. So I realized like, hey, like I'm not giving the proper attention to any facet right now. And so we have 2 ladies who are amazing, and they split up the reception and the admin roles between weekdays and weekends. And I fill in the evenings and in early mornings because that's always when the world is blowing up is when you first wake up at 6 a.m. and somebody's kid is sick and one of the client's husbands came home from fishing and he just wants to sleep and we need to reschedule and we need to make sure everybody who is scheduled that morning knows. And it's just it's just go, go, go from the second I wake up. So it's that part has been amazing. And the expansion of having assistants and realizing that it takes 8 people to do what I was doing previously was mind-boggling. And also, I think it's really showing online in our social media posts and the dedication that we're giving to our post cleaning quality control checks in the even in like our internal documentation systems. Like I'm not a technological person, and I have been shown systems and software that I didn't know even existed. And now, if we didn't have it, I wouldn't be able to exist. Like it's just, I can't live without this stuff now. It has made my life so much better. And they've made my life so much better because I can focus more on working on the business than being in it all the time, underwater trying to tread and trying to get everything done. Now I have delegation and other people can handle the tasks and they can do it well. Um, it's always it's always fun to explain how, it works down here down on the South Shore because it's not a big city. It's not anonymous. It's everybody down here knows everybody. There's a story behind every staff member, every client. Sometimes we can't send certain staff member to certain clients' homes because they have history. And so there's a huge learning curve. And we also have an aging population down here that we are definitely um, trying to provide services for, which is a story all on its own. We have senior citizens down here, and we work alongside with Barrington's, well, Shelburne County's senior safety and services, which is their goal, and our goal is to always make sure that independent seniors can safely stay in their homes. And there's been many, many situations where, you know, um, senior citizen isn't able to clean up the floor or pick up stuff around the floor, and it's become a tripping hazard or mobility hazard. And we've had clients who have tripped and hurt themselves, and we come in afterwards and we make sure the floor is cleaned up. Um, but it's the reason I bring that up is because we don't have they don't have access to the internet, or they don't know how to text, or they don't know how to do online invoicing. So explaining that to virtual staff who have made a career out of working for companies across the world, that everything that you're used to doing, you can't it's not well, not 100% applicable here because we
Right.
have to do things a little different just because it's a small community. And sometimes I'm driving out to, you know, some old chappie's house with a paper bill, and he's going to write me a check, and that's what I'm doing weekly now. So we have ways around it, but it's yeah, it's always something new. It's always something different, and it's a very special place down here. It's very specific in how we do things, but we have to make it work because everybody's so far apart, and we're so rural. But
It
it is what
works.
it is. It
So,
works.
so would you say that hiring those, we'll call them like specialists to surround
Mhm.
yourself with, have really been a game changer for you?
To the point that I said, I made the joke once. Now I understand why men marry women, because it's like having, I don't want to, it sounds horrible to say, but it's like having three wives. I have someone who is making my schedule. I have someone who's, sending me reminders like, hey, don't forget you have to do, this today. Or, hey, we noticed that you were running low on this, so we ordered this for you. They're picking up my calls. They're answering my texts. If I say, bless their hearts, there's one of them. He's a magician. And he works his hours, so I'll send him, my needs for the day. I go to sleep, I wake up, and all of a sudden this garbled mess that I've given him has turned into he's spun it to gold. And all of a sudden we have, this system set up, and a timeline with tasks that we need to do and that we need to follow. He's done the deep research for, the laws and the applicable um courses that we need to do, or like he's just gone through and he's created these things that I would never have been able to do. So when I joke and I say they're like me, they do what I do, but they do it better, it is 100%. I would never have been able to do what they do and still do. I couldn't, I'd love to say and still do what I do, but I could never do what they do. They're so specialized and they're so focused on their own tasks and what they're doing that, one person wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able, because there's eight of them. They're spending hours doing everything every single day. And to think that I was doing that all myself, but worse,
Partially.
yeah,
Yeah.
personally, and not doing it as well is just, it's mind-boggling. And they've really the progress that the business has made since November it really shows, and it's impressive. And uh, we've got numbers that show that we're actually, there's physical data that it's reflecting the boost in business and the traffic that we're getting, and it's wild. It's been, other than the cleaning staff, other than hiring other staff members to help me clean, I'm I'm so pleased that we went that route, and I'm happy. So
So absolutely. So now that you've built out those systems and you've surrounded yourself with that support,
mhm.
what's the next phase of expansion?
Oh my goodness. Well, we're in the next phase of expansion right now. So, government tenders was something that was never on my radar. Didn't know it was a thing. Last November, the first virtual staff that I hired, he brought one to my attention. It was in Shelburne, and it was the post. No, not the post office. Yeah, I think it might have been the post office. And he said, "Hey, this government tender's just, there's like 2 days left on this." And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, we're in such a crazy point right now. Like I'm like, no, we can't do this. Like the deadline's way too tight. I have no idea what this even. No, we don't. We're put a pin in it. We'll talk about this, in 12 months because I couldn't even comprehend what it was or how we would go about doing it. There was many stipulations. So recently we had a new government tender come up for the town of Shelburne, it was four different public facilities, municipal facilities in the town of Shelburne. And we took the time and we put the paperwork together. And with much help from and research, I should say, I now know the last decade of history in the county of Shelburne about how the progress of government tenders has expanded and has grown. And, 10 years ago, it used to be a handshake and a, hope and a wish, and it wasn't really working out for them. And now they've moved into a different system. So, because we now know how now, because we now have that knowledge and that background, we could really alter and focus our tender on what the town of Shelburne really needed and how they needed a contractor to really provide them services. So I never would have been able to do that. I never would have thought to go back a decade's worth of, municipal meetings and records and research this stuff and tailor what we were offering to, these guys. But yeah, so we put in a bid on the tender and we won. So we are now commercially cleaning facilities for the town of Shelburne, which includes like the public library, the community center in Shelburne, these really big and well used spaces that are well loved by the public. So the next expansion, we're in it. We're working commercially, and we have our eyes on a couple more tenders coming up. So that will
Yes.
be something else that we're going to be looking into. Then, I always joke our logo is the octopus, but it's because we have so many. I have so many facets that I love. So property management. I used to work in property law, and it was buying, selling, renting. My goodness. I used to work in a property management company, and
Yep.
we would always. I was part of, short-term rentals, long-term rentals, all these different things, purchasing multi-unit buildings. So what I would love to do is get into that a little bit more because the housing crisis in Nova Scotia is huge. There's nowhere to rent down here. And there's available grants and there's such a need for these things here that I would absolutely love to get into A, helping other people manage their properties and B, really start purchasing properties and start providing homes for people because I mean it aligns so much with what we do. It's we're always in people's homes, we're always helping people, we're always taking care of people. Well,
Right.
let's one step further, like here's a house, here's somewhere you can rent, and with available spaces for people to rent, younger people can come back. It's the prices down here for mortgages is just wild. Younger people who are just starting out, they can't afford anything. They can't afford it here, so they don't stay here. So we don't have that retention of a younger population. So I would love to say, we're fine without them, but we're not. We want to keep people here. We want to provide available rental spaces.
Absolutely.
So it is a goal of mine, or to turn spaces into seniors apartments or, available for you know, I won't name names, but certain programs that offer spaces for women in crisis or children in crisis. Like those are on my radar. I've had meetings, I've had, sit down conversations, and spaces are just desperately needed. And it just takes someone to put the time in and to really get into it to provide these spaces. So it's now that I have a team that supports everything everything that I'm doing, and that's, they take what I need and take what I want and they run with it and they create and you know, they put the support and they put the foundation down for me. So it's, I'm steering the bus, but they're the mechanics of the whole thing. It's the team too. It's just we're just moving forward and it's so much fun to just enjoy what we're doing and where we're going with it. It's as much as I want to say let's live in the now, but oh my goodness, the future is it's so exciting. It's so bright. There's so many options and so many directions that we can move that which way are we going? Well, apparently now we're just going to do all of it. So,
That's awesome. So
mm,
you went from not really on the radar running your own business to running your own business in a very short period of time and realizing all of those hurdles that come into play and aligning yourself with people to kind of take the hats off of you that you've been wearing, probably 16 to 32
mm.
hats by the sounds of it, which makes sense. What's a piece of advice that you have for someone who's thinking about starting their own business?
Ooh, don't jump into anything too fast. So within the last couple of years, I've been recently diagnosed with ADHD, and something I thought that was a character flaw was my impulsive tendencies. Turns out it's a symptom. Now that I know what it is, and now that I know how to manage it, and I recognize it when it's happening, taking a step back and researching or trying things slowly, building again the foundations. Expanding or researching all options instead of prior to this I would just say, hey, like, we need a new accounting system. Here's the new accounting system and let's figure it out while we're doing it. And that would just be chaos. It was chaos for me, it was chaos for the staff. Bless their hearts, they were team players. They took it, they were like, cool, yep, that's what we're doing. We don't know how to use this, she doesn't know how to use this, we'll figure it out. So I'm always sending like links to YouTube, like, actually, this is how we do this. It was there was just a lot of, it was like the Wild West. It was just cowboys running around doing whatever. It's my biggest advice now is to just take your step back and, it's like a tattoo. If you still want it in 6 months, think about it again for another 6 months. Like, it's like, take the time, do the research, put things together, set it aside, go back to it, visit it, um, ask people who have done it before. It's being the only cleaning business down here. We have lots of cleaning ladies, we have lots of people who do this job, but not to this scale. I was sort of floundering. I didn't have people that I could say, like, hey, like, when you were doing your cleaning business, what did you use for software for scheduling? Or how did
Right.
you manage, invoicing? There was nothing. I had no support there. Now I've learned there's people online, there's communities. I mean, even something as simple as Reddit, going on there and asking advice for people who have had experiences and have, knowledge in this field. There's always someone who's done it already. There's always someone who knows what to do. They know what to avoid, and they'll give you, people want to tell you, they want to give you advice and they want to help you. And even I've realized now, even tradesmen, people who have run their own plumbing company, as long as they run a business, what they have to say, it all counts. It all works for what I'm doing. It
Absolutely.
might not specifically be cleaning. I've a couple clients that we're going in and we're doing a turnover for their short-term rental or their long-term rental, and they say, hey, yeah, you're doing this. Like, well, I love when people start new businesses. What are you doing for marketing? What are you doing for this? Like, do you have workers' compensation? And I'm like, no, should I? Years ago,
Right.
but still. So it's, I've blue collar jobs and people who are working in trades. Everybody who's working for themselves has stories and advice, and it's all valuable. It might not be specifically for me, but it's something that it comes up even years later where I think, oh, right, this guy said this about this one time about, in their electrician job, and right now I understand what he was saying. Or, it's so it's, someone said to me once, they were like, it's lonely at the top when you're the owner of a business, but there is a community. You just have to find it. And being rural, again, it's hard, but nothing
Yeah,
out here is easy.
you have to be open and receptive to that
Yeah.
and expose yourself a little bit, and that gets scary. But you tend to find that there's a lot of welcoming arms out there to help you out along the way. So, Layla, that was absolutely enlightening. There's a pile of stuff in here for someone to learn from. So I really appreciate your time and everything. Thank you very much. And to those watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.
Well, thank you, Barrett. This was fun, and I'm excited to see where this goes and where we both end up in the next couple of years.